Hello YouTube, Deep South here. It just cooled off enough for me to come outside, and today I'm doing a SV support video for my good buddy Pennsylvania Shane. He's celebrating his 100 subscribers with a contest, and he wants us to show him our favorite knot. And I'll tell you right up front, I suck at knots terribly. I just cannot retain knots in my head. For me, the key of knots is repetition and practice, and that's just something that I don't have time to do. The kind of camping that I've done all my life, I didn't use knots because most of the time I used plain dome tents and did not use tarps, so I really didn't tie a lot of knots. The only knots that I tied were fishing knots. So today I'm going to show you the improved clinch knot. This is my favorite knot. It's about the only knot that I know. When I need to tie knots, I can tie knots and get away with it, and I don't know whether they have names or not, or I invent them, but you know, they work. One of the things I do is I keep a couple of pieces of paracord on my desk, and when I've got time, I will try to practice my knots. But the problem is, they just don't stick. Not unless I do them over and over and over. And if I don't revisit them often, I'll totally forget them. I have to look the bowline or bowline knot up all the time. And I know all about the rabbit in the hole, but it just doesn't stick up there. The one knot that does stick in my mind is the improved clinch knot, and that's because it's the one I use all the time when I'm fishing, and I can tie with my eyes closed, but I'm not going to do that. The reason I can do it with my eyes closed is because we do a lot of our fishing at night when we catfish and things like that. It's just a very easy knot to do, and you can do it by just feel. So I'll show you the improved clinch knot now. Okay, here's how you do the clinch knot, improved clinch knot. Here's a makeshift hook that I made. I'm using paracord because it's bigger to demonstrate with, and I just practiced once with this to see how I do, and it does awful with paracord. So we'll just do the best we can. But you take your line, you go through the eyelet of the hook, you twist it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You take your tag line, you put it back through the loop right there by the eyelet, and then right back through the top loop, and then just slide it down. And you're supposed to spit on this. Makes it slide easier, makes it look prettier. This just does not do good with paracord. It's also supposed to reduce friction and heating your line up so it doesn't break as easily. Now that looks awful on paracord. It's a lot neater when you do it with monofilament. But I told you I suck with knots. I'm going to show you one more thing. Maybe I get some brownie points for this. Here's what else I wanted to show you, and this is the Ashley's Book of Knots. It is the Bible of knot tying, and it's not cheap, but it's an excellent book. It's got 7,000 drawings, and it represents 3,900 knots. It's by Clifford W. Ashley. Like I said, this book is not cheap. The hardback is suggested at $75 US, 115 Canadian. Now I got mine at an estate sale, and before I came outside I looked it up on Amazon, and the book is going for regularly $85, and they had one marked down to $49.30 shipping. And so the range for the new book was $45 to $75, and used was $34 to $47. But the book is excellent. The contents are broken out by on knots, what knots are all about, different types of ropes, occupational knots, single strand knots, multi-strand knots, two-strand knots, multi-strand knots, single loop knots, double and multi-loop knots, the noose, knots tied in the bight, clove hitch and other crossing knots, binding knots, the Turk's heads, bends, shroud knots, belaying and making fast, hitching to spar and rail, hitching to mast, rigging and cables, hitching to stake and post, piles and bollards, ring hitches, hooks, beckets and toggles, and miscellaneous holdfasts. And there's some of the illustrations. And it has got every knot you can imagine. You know, I keep those 2 pieces of paracord at my desk to practice with, and I keep this book there, but I can't tie 1/64th of those knots in there by memory, or any of those books by memory. I mean, knots by memory. It's just too much. Anyway, it's a great book. If you want to know about knots, that's where you go. Sorry, my knot didn't come out too good. It looked awful. I know it did. It just did not work very good with paracord. And I'm rushing through this in my usual manner because the bugs are eating me up, even though I got my citronella candle going. And it is just sweltering out here. It's 7:30, you know, and I'm wringing wet from the humidity. It's 84 degrees, but, you know, it feels like 88, they say. To me, it feels like 100. I just don't do heat very well anymore. Shane, I really appreciate your channel and I appreciate your friendship. I really enjoy talking to you and communicating with you in the ways that we communicate back and forth. Enjoy talking to you. Congratulations on your 100 subs. One thing I got to say about you, man, you are an artist. Whether you believe that or not, you are. I think you're a very gifted and talented photographer, and you know, this is just the beginning for you, so I see a bright future ahead. Take it and run, buddy. Sorry it wasn't one of the better videos that I've done, and just the way it is. I shoot them and then I'll upload them. That's what I do. But it's real life. Congratulations once again, buddy. Really, really do mean it from the bottom of my heart. You take care. Peace. Stay strange.